Hey everyone, welcome to Speak Like a Native. I'm Maya.
And I'm Leo. Let's get into it.
All right, Leo, quick question for you. You have a phone from 2018. How would you describe it?
Oh, easy. It's an old phone. I mean, it's what, 7 years old? It's definitely old.
Good. Now, what about the pyramids in Egypt?
Those are ancient, like super old, thousands of years old.
Perfect. Now, one more. Your grandmother has a wooden chest that she inherited from her great grandmother. It's been passed down through the family for over 100 years. It's covered in beautiful carvings and looks like something from a museum.
Wow, that sounds like an antique.
Bingo. You just used all three words correctly without even thinking about it. Old, ancient, and antique. And that is exactly what we are diving into today. Because I promise you, Leo, most learners mix these up in the most surprising ways.
Really? They seem pretty straightforward to me.
Oh, they seem straightforward until someone tells you their grandmother is ancient. Trust me, that conversation does not go well.
Wait, people actually say that?
All the time. And that is why we are doing this episode. Because knowing the difference between these three words is not just about vocabulary, it is about not accidentally offending someone.
Okay, now I'm curious. So, old, ancient, and antique, they all mean something is from the past, right? But what's the actual difference?
Great question. Let's break it down simply. Old is the most general word. It means something has existed for a relatively long time. It is completely neutral. You can use it for people, objects, buildings, ideas, pretty much anything.
So, my phone from 2018 is old. That's fair.
Exactly. Now, ancient is much more specific. It means something is from the very distant past. We usually use it for things that are thousands of years old. Ancient civilizations, ancient ruins, ancient traditions.
So, not my phone, then.
Unless your phone is from ancient Rome. No, definitely not.
Okay, got it. An antique?
Antique is all about value and collectability. An antique is an old object that is considered valuable because of its age, beauty, or rarity. Think antique furniture, antique jewelry, antique vases.
So, antique means old plus valuable.
Exactly right. But here's where it gets tricky. The boundaries between these words are not always clear, and native speakers use them in very specific ways.
Give me an example.
Imagine you are at a party. Your friend points to an older man sitting in the corner and says, "Oh, that's George. He's ancient."
Wait, that sounds kind of rude.
Exactly. In English, calling a person ancient is almost always a joke. It is considered very informal and mildly disrespectful. You would never say it seriously about someone unless you were being playful.
So, if I want to describe my grandfather, I should say he's old, not ancient.
Exactly. Or you could say he's elderly, which is more respectful. But old is perfectly fine. My grandfather is old. That's neutral and natural. My grandfather is ancient. That sounds like you are making fun of his age.
Okay, that is good to know. What about Arabic speakers? I feel like in Arabic, kadim can mean both old and ancient, and we use it pretty freely.
That is such a great point. Many languages do not have this three-way distinction. In Chinese, for example, the word lakan mean old, ancient, and even old-fashioned. So, of course, Chinese speakers might say my grandmother is very old, which is fine, but they might also say this building is very old when they actually mean this building is ancient.
And that changes the feeling completely.
Right. And for Spanish speakers, viejo covers a lot of ground, but antiguo is closer to antique or ancient, depending on context. So you can see how the boundaries get fuzzy.
Okay, so let's do a real life scenario. I want to practice using all three correctly.
Perfect. Let's set the scene. You are at a garage sale in a small American town. There is a table with all kinds of stuff, an old lamp, a vintage record player, a stack of books, and a tiny wooden box with intricate carvings.
Okay, I'm looking at the lamp. It's from the 1980s. That's old.
Good. And the record player?
It's from the 1960s. It's old too. but maybe kind of cool. Is it antique?
Not yet. In the antique world, something usually needs to be at least 100 years old to be considered a true antique. So a 1960s record player is vintage, which is a whole other category we can talk about another day. But for now, just know it's old but not antique.
Got it. So what about the tiny wooden box with carvings?
The seller says it was brought over from Japan in the 1800s. It has beautiful hand-carved patterns and a small signature on the bottom.
Okay, that sounds like it could be 150 years old, so it's antique.
Perfect. Now here's a twist. The seller also has a coin from ancient Greece.
That's ancient, definitely ancient. Over 2,000 years old.
Exactly. And that coin is also antique because it is valuable and collectible. So sometimes a thing can be both ancient and antique at the same time.
So ancient is about how old it is, and antique is about whether it has value.
You nailed it. Now let's move into the common mistakes, because this is where things get really interesting.
I'm ready. Hit me.
Mistake number 1 is using ancient to describe things that are just old, not extremely old. For example, some learners say things like, "This building is ancient," when the building is only 50 years old.
50 years is not ancient. It's just old.
Exactly. In American English, ancient carries a sense of awe or extreme age. Think ancient Rome, ancient Egypt, ancient civilizations. A 50-year-old building is not ancient. It might be old, or even historic if it has significance.
What about mistake number 2?
Mistake number 2 is using old for everything, even when a more specific word would be better. This is very common among learners from all language backgrounds. Your phone is old, but a family heirloom from the 1700s is not just old, it is antique. And the Great Wall of China is not just old, it is ancient.
So I should upgrade my vocabulary when something is truly ancient or truly valuable.
Exactly. And mistake number 3 is using antique to describe anything old, even if it has no special value or beauty.
Oh, I've heard that. Like someone says, my old sneakers are antique.
Exactly. Antique implies that the object has historical or aesthetic value. A pair of worn-out sneakers from 2010 is old. It is not antique, unless they were worn by a famous athlete and have collectible value. But just your everyday sneakers? Old.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now I want to know about cultural context. You mentioned that calling someone ancient is a joke. Are there other cultural things I should know?
Yes. In American culture, age is a sensitive topic. We often use polite euphemisms. Instead of saying old people, we say senior citizens or older adults. Instead of saying old age, we say advancing years.
So I should avoid using ancient for people entirely.
Unless you are joking with a close friend. And even then, be careful. If you are not close to the person, it can sound disrespectful.
Good tip. What about objects? Can I call a 200-year-old building ancient?
In casual conversation, yes. Americans do call very old buildings ancient sometimes, even if they are only a few hundred years old. But technically, ancient refers to the period before the Middle Ages, so before about 500 AD.
So a building from the 1700s is historic, not ancient?
Exactly. Historic is another word that is very useful. A historic building is one that is important in history. It does not have to be ancient.
Okay, I'm learning a lot. Let's do a practice round. Give me a few sentences and I will choose the right word.
Love it. Sentence 1. My grandmother's wedding ring is over 120 years old. It's been in the family for 4 generations.
That is an antique ring.
Good. Sentence 2. The cave paintings in this cave are from 30,000 years ago.
Ancient. Absolutely ancient.
Perfect. Sentence 3. I have a book from the 1990s. It's a bit worn out, but I still like it.
That's an old book, just old.
Beautiful. You are getting it. Now here is a challenge sentence for you. The city has a section of buildings from the 1800s that are protected by law.
They are old, but maybe historic?
Great answer. Historic is often the best word for buildings that are old and important, but you could also say they are old buildings and it would sound natural, just not ancient.
Got it. So my rule of thumb is everyday things that have been around for a while are old. Extremely old things from thousands of years ago are ancient. And old things that are valuable or collectible are antique.
That is the perfect summary. And there is one more word I want to throw in here because it comes up a lot when people talk about antiques.
What's that?
Vintage. Vintage usually refers to something from a specific past era that is considered classic or high quality. It is not as old as antique. For example, vintage clothing from the 1950s is popular right now, but it is not antique yet.
So vintage is like older than old, but younger than antique.
You could say that. The boundaries are not strict, but for everyday conversation, knowing old, ancient, and antique will cover most of what you need.
All right, let's talk about the listener challenge. I know you like to give our listeners something to practice.
I do. So here is your challenge for today. I want you to think of 3 things in your own life, one that is old, one that is ancient, and one that is antique.
Oh, that is a good one. Let me think. Okay, my phone from 2018 is old, the Colosseum in Rome is ancient, and my grandmother's wooden chest is antique.
Perfect. Now I want our listeners to do the same. Think of your own examples and leave them in the comments. We will read some of them in a future episode.
Yes, please do that. And speaking of future episodes, Maya, what are we covering next?
Tomorrow we are going to talk about 3 words that almost every learner gets wrong in professional settings. But I'm not going to tell you what they are yet. You will have to come back to find out.
I love the suspense. All right, everyone, before we go, let's do a quick recap. Old is for things that have been around for a while. Neutral can be used for people. Ancient is for things from the very distant past, thousands of years old. Antique is for old things that have value, usually over 100 years old.
And remember, do not call your grandmother ancient unless you are joking and she is in on the joke.
That is probably the most important piece of advice from this whole episode.
It really is. And one more thing. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Speak Like a Native. Hit that bell so you never miss a new lesson. We publish every single day, and we want to help you sound more natural, more confident, and less like a textbook.
And leave a comment with your 3 examples. We want to hear from you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. This is Maya.
And this is Leo. Keep speaking like a native.
See you tomorrow.